is good for everyone. So, all right. So get things going. Let's welcome everyone to our, let's see, September Some Ventures Band of Angels monthly meeting. This is a little bit later than normal for us. Normally we're on the third Thursday of every month, but we had the privilege of going out to New York as a fund last week and both seeing an incredible launch party for Purlin in conjunction with Eklund Gomes and the Douglas Elliman team, as well as seeing our principal Peter Jun honored as the newly appointed venture capital ambassador to South Korea. So I know Peter wants me to not talk about that too much. So I'll leave it at that. But it's a tremendous accomplishment, and really proud of Peter. And I know he's on this call for a little bit this evening, but he's traveling as well. So if you can hear us, Peter, we're all excited about that accomplishment and really pumped to do more deals and coming over from South Korea here as well. Let's see. So as far as the ground rules for tonight goes, we're going to do a 10-minute presentation from our portfolio or from our companies, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. It's a little bit shorter on the Q&A side tonight because we've got a full slate of companies that are here to present. We want to make sure that we're getting through all of them. I will encourage the founders to stick around and after they present and after the Q&A to answer some questions on Zoom and chat, because we're gonna see you'll see a healthy amount of questions come through there as well. I also encourage you guys to reach out to each other again, because part of the value here is again on building this community and ping each other, and I know that a lot of great relationships have been formed over the years from these meetings. Speaking of which, just give you a little bit of quick background on this meeting. I joined the Band of Angels about 6-7 years ago now. And about 4 years ago, we launched the LA SIG. Ever since then, we've been hosting this monthly meeting. And out of my angel investing activities, Some Ventures was born. We launched the fund last year, hit our first close, actually coming up on our final close here in the next month. Really excited about that final close. It's been a long way coming, and I think having a fund now allows me to collaborate with our angel network in a new way, and by being able to write 250 to 500K checks into these opportunities, one, it helps us source a little bit better, but it just also creates this collaboration, which I think you'll see on the meeting tonight. We don't exclude members from other angel groups here. We invite members from Pasadena Angels and Tech Coast Angels to join along with our band members. Although the founders who do present and do finish, first or second, will advance on to go present to our deal screening meeting with the band in our Northern California group. For those who aren't familiar with the Band of Angels, it's the oldest angel investment group in the world, been around for over 30 years, over 100 exits in its existence. And Sonia Markova should be joining us at some point this evening, and Sonia is the executive director of the band. And if you are curious about joining the group, Sonia's the perfect person to talk to on that front. I'm just a lowly member here, so who enjoys hosting the meeting. All right, let's see. As far as other portfolio news, I want to cover real quick. We touched on Purlin. We touched on. I think we actually have David Ballard here somewhere. There you are. Hey, I think we've got a representative from Douglas Elliman here, CTO of Douglas Elliman here tonight. So really excited that we get to have you on the call with us, and we're going to have Georgi from Purlin present later on this evening and give an update. So excited about that. I think we've got a few other new members joining. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a few links to a few other updates that I just want to share with the group so that you can browse at your leisure. First off is thanks to our team at UpTech Studio, we have a new and updated website for our fund, and we include a lot more information on our portfolio companies. And I really want to thank Adam Corman and the team at UpTech Studio for helping lead that charge, along with Jessica Chan, who's an incredible designer who's helping us out. So if you go to some.vc and click on portfolio, you can read much more about our portfolio companies. Additionally, I wanted to actually share one thing that I don't think that they're going to be on tonight. I might do it a little bit later towards the end. Actually, got a really cool video. Let me poll the group real quick. How many of you got to see the update from Living Pop-Ups with Bryan Cranston and LeVar Burton doing the characters in my monthly update? Did anybody get to see that? We got Cam. We got a couple. Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. I'd encourage everyone to check that out. It just shows you how incredible, you know, some of the companies that come through are, and I'll also drop our monthly update into the text window here as well. Outside of that, I think you know what, we've got covered the ground rules. I think we're going to hit one portfolio update from Lauren Leonard and Tamo, and I'm going to hand it over to her right now, and then we're going to jump into some presentations. So I'm sure I've forgotten something, but we'll revisit here throughout the evening. So Lauren, you want to take it away?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Happy, what day is this for us? Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy almost Friday. I'm Lauren Leonard. I presented, I believe, to the group maybe in June. So excited to be back. Just wanted to kind of give some quick updates over the summer. So our company, R3Score, just as a reminder, is reinventing criminal background checks. We are in market today, providing to businesses and to governments a more contextualized criminal background check. The reason why the market really cares about this, it's a 16 billion total available market size, is because at present, a third of all working adults have an arrest or conviction record, and the current tools in market aren't helping them grow while managing business risk. We had a unique opportunity that came our way, which has completely kind of revolutionized our revenue projections and our growth opportunities. It's with Inventive Technologies. They are a prison tablet provider. We have been selected as one of 3 companies for a brand new marketplace that they have launched. I'll drop in the link or in the chat a couple of press announcements that just came out for those that haven't seen it, but it's super exciting for us. The 650,000 available tablets are allowing us to be able to have a new product called R3 Up in front of a rough estimate about 2 million total individuals in the course of a year. Inventive has a model for prisons, jails, and detention centers. We are going to be providing content in 5 key areas, as well as entertainment. The most exciting part about it all is we are currently already installed on 20,000 of their tablets nationwide. We have a year-end goal of hitting that to be 650,000 available tablets in market. And then additionally, last week, we were just announced as one of 13 global companies selected for AWS's brand new Justice and Public Safety Initiative, which comes with a significant amount of in-kind support. And for all of you who are investors in us, the thing you will probably love even more is we get AWS to co-sell with us to county and state governments, both our core product and our brand new app technology. So this is a super exciting time in the life of our company. Tamo and Quantiva have been amazing. This week, they actually got us through a key AWS milestone, which is the foundational technical review, which opened up the opportunity to get to some AWS investors and a whole bunch of exciting things. So grateful for some ventures and their partnership. Grateful to Quantiva and to Tamo. And so if I miss anything, Tamo, make sure that you fill it in.
Well, yeah, following up Lauren is always a tough job. I think you covered it all, Lauren.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think that one other thing that I'd like to highlight for the group is that Lauren presented, I think it was 2 months ago, and actually ended up coming in and presenting to our deal screening just last week, and ended up finishing first for the band group as well. So she really knocked it out of the park in front of our larger band of angels group, and really proud of everything that she's accomplishing. So I encourage you guys to check that opportunity out. I think that there was one piece of news that I skipped over, which was PlantSwitch, which is a company we invested in at the earlier this year, and thanks to Hunter Ballard for bringing that awesome opportunity over to us. They recently launched their facility in North Carolina, and they're expanding their partnership with Young Brands, and I think that that's one that we're really, we're going to high five over in the future for those of us who got a chance to participate in that opportunity. For those who remember, it's they take plant waste and break it down into cellulose and add a polymer to make a plastic alternative that is actually just as strong as plastic, if not, it's actually a little tensile strength's a little bit stronger and just as flexible. But the amazing piece is that they've been able to do it at a price point that's competitive with plastic. So that's why they've caught Young Brands' interest and are getting the interest from a number of other large companies that buy specifically cutlery, but there are other applications as well. So excited about that one, and thank you, Hunter, for both helping with this meeting, putting up with me, and sourcing Plant Switch. That's a lot on your plate there. I really appreciate it. Outside, or let's see. All right, so we got Adam, we got Uptech. All right, so first up is actually a really an awesome opportunity for us to get Frank Mastrangelo and to come in and share Pay Amigo. I asked Frank to come in and give the presentation for the group. You know, the one thing that we've seen is that we're really lucky as a fund to get a chance to participate alongside the founding team as the first venture investors in this deal. And as Frank will, I'm sure share with the group, there's been some other VC traction in the opportunity. And as we look ahead to probably another raise in the next few months, I think there will be maybe an opportunity for the broader group to revisit and take a look down the road when the company is getting priced. So I wanted everyone to hear about the traction and hear everything that Frank's accomplished, so that it's not coming out of the blue in a few months, because this is the type of opportunity that's not going to be around forever when Frank does decide to raise the price round, I think. So Frank, with that, oh, actually, one sec, sorry, I got to brag about Frank. So for those of you who don't know, because Frank's probably too modest to share, Frank is probably one of the most accomplished people in fintech that we have on the panel, and that's saying something, because we got Mr. Mansfield, we got a lot of great Mike, we got a lot of great fintech. Adam's got a great track record in fintech as well. We got a lot of great folks here with backgrounds in fintech. But Frank was a co-founder, CEO or president of Bancorp, was a former CEO of Green Dot, and was a CEO of Yapstone. So needless to say, if you're gonna question his projections or his numbers, come ready today, I would say, because I think Frank's well armed with the data. So I'll hand it over, Frank, and you take it away.
No, so no pressure. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate that very much. It's I'm not sure I deserve all that introduction, but it's great to be with you all here today. And once again, I appreciate you letting me all hang out with you from the East Coast on the LA forum here. I've had a lot of fun through the years participating in these. Garrett, I'll pop up the deck if I'm able to do that.
Hey, Frank, while you're doing that, just so you know, this group is not one that responds well to false modesty.
Well, you know, we'll see.
That's a good one.
So anyway, look, what we're doing and been working on since February here is a company called Pay Amigo. We're thrilled to have some VC. Garrett was actually our first institutional investor. Really what we're doing here is, look, the concept is the emerging markets are the fastest growing markets in the world. Large enterprise merchants, cross-border merchants need access to these markets, but you know, they're very complex. There's a significant amount of complexity associated with them. Doing business, as many do today, using like cross-border acquirers or cross-border firms, lead to lots of payment failure. Typical way a large merchant would actually shift into one of these countries and try and build support. Ultimately, you know, the large merchant comes to the conclusion that they really need to support local payment methods, but local payment methods is really complex in these markets. Not like the US market where you just, you know, plug into Fiserv or WorldPay or whatever it may be and support, you know, all the various, you know, credit and debit networks. Usually there's a significant number of integrations that are very localized payment networks and payment systems that one has to support. Getting lots of feedback, don't know where that's coming from, but when a merchant does support those local payment methods, they'll typically see in these markets, depending on the demographic and the product set, you can see as much as a 30 to 50% lift in revenue as a result. I'll give you a core example. You know, when Microsoft went to Brazil and ultimately integrated Pix for the first time, the local bank transfer system, they actually saw about a 200% lift in revenue as a result on Xbox. Reason for that is, you know, and any of you familiar with the Brazilian market, if you're using a cross-border acquirer in Brazil, the majority of people can't pay you. Number one. Number two, the Xbox demographic doesn't have a card to begin with. You know, they use the bank transfer system called Pix. So in implementing, Pix for payment in Brazil, Microsoft was able to lift essentially, sales dramatically. Not a large enough market for them to go in and support themselves, though. Right. So what most merchants do is actually partner with someone to actually solve these markets for them. Right. Hence Pay Amigo. It's a single API, single integration that ultimately provides every payment rail we're integrated to our merchants to utilize. The API itself is about 2 sprints from an implementation standpoint to move from one country to the next or one payment rail to the next is a couple days of configuration work once the API is implemented. So ultimately, as we roll out our platform and infrastructure and build out across the world, merchants can grow with us across emerging markets. We started this, as I said, in February, because of just our knowledge in the space and our experience. We were able to piece together the technology, essentially acquire 9 subsidiaries, 9 local entities in various countries: Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, India, a PI license in Europe, an entity in the UK, et cetera, essentially to begin this effort and begin this company. So we launched our first client in Brazil, which is up and live today, both integrated to essentially the major and the local card networks and the Pix network. We launched our first client earlier this month. We have a host of other clients and a strong pipeline from a business development standpoint. Argentina and India and Europe will be our next market to go live. Our goal is to build across 50 markets over the next 5 years or so. What differentiates us from others, you might be familiar with companies like dLocal and eBanks and Flutterwave that do something very similar to what we're talking about, right? But just as an example, dLocal and eBanks have built completely into LATAM before they went anywhere else. Flutterwave built into Africa. Today, if a merchant wants access to all the top emerging markets in the world, ultimately they need to integrate with 7 or 8 different companies like dLocal or eBanks or Flutterwave to cover the world. What we're doing instead is actually building across all the top markets first, and then secondary markets second. It's one of the core benefits. It's what we hear merchants saying they want. Merchants don't care about Uruguay and Paraguay, right? As much as they care about Morocco or Turkey or Vietnam or Japan, like other markets like that are actually much larger, much more complex, and much more lucrative for them to build into and enter. So our growth plan matches more, and in support for these countries matches more what the what we hear these merchants asking for and how they prioritize their own markets. The other thing that makes us pretty unique is that, as Garrett said, the team of us, we spent a lot of time in fintech. We spent a lot of time in payments across our careers. We spent a lot of time essentially selling into large enterprise clients as a group. We understand what it means to partner. By that I mean most others in this
Did Frank freeze?
Or do some pretty underhanded thing from a price. What's that?
I'm sorry, Frank. You froze on my side for a second, but I think we're back to okay. Apologies.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so dLocal is a public company, so we're able to like parse their metrics. Just as an example, dLocal extracts close to a 600 basis point margin, right, from the merchants on their platform. They do that. One of the ways they do that, the merchants actually think they're paying somewhere between 300 and 400 basis points, right? But dLocal does some things like hold out the retail FX rate. Well, of course, they get the interbank FX rate. We go about educating our clients in a fully transparent manner, sharing our fully loaded costs in detail, and essentially, marking the rates to what we feel is a healthy margin that they're typically more than willing to pay. And that averages, just for what it's worth, 350 basis points plus or minus is where we end up, about where, like I said, what folks think they're paying dLocal today. There's a handful of verticals that we're focused on. We've got traction in virtually all of them. Crypto, not that one. We're actually not focused on that one at the moment, but there's a lot of interest there from crypto firms, but that's not one we're pushing into at the moment. Our first client is a gaming client. One of the co-founders sold the first in-gaming advertising company, actually, to Microsoft a number of years ago. So he's pretty well known in that vertical, pretty well known in that space. As a result, eventually, as we build this platform, we'll scale up into tier 1 merchants. Right now, we're primarily focused on tier 2, tier 3. I'm flipping through this fast, so we can get to questions, and I keep this within 10 minutes. But a rollout plan, looks something like this. Today we have, as I said, our first merchant signed live, utilizing card and Pix in Brazil. We have 4 referral relationships with gateway clients that are integrating to our platform. And we have a series of other merchants that we're contracting with right now. We're running well ahead of our revenue plan and actually well behind our forecasted expense load right now. So we are already beyond the ARR we forecasted this year, and by the end of the year now, we're forecasting we'll actually have contracted revenue to cover the end of 2024's ARR by the end of this calendar year, based on our pipeline. That's, like I said, we're a pretty experienced team, and as a result, we've been able to get this off the ground pretty quickly and get to revenue in a pretty methodical way. Garrett mentioned capital. We raised 1.5 million in capital today. As I said, Garrett was our first institutional, VC, effectively, like on the cap table. We recently just took in, I think, the last of the investments we'll take into our pre-seed round. That is, Commerce Ventures is coming in to fund the Commerce Ventures, and actually some VC taking a small piece we have left of the pre-seed round, and Commerce is also committing a nice block of capital essentially into our seed round, which will kick off sometime in Q4.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Frank, for giving us the rundown on Pay Amigo. Let's open it up for questions for the group. I will start things off, seeing as how we seem to always have a quiet group to start. You mentioned a couple of beachhead or initial customers in the gaming space. I didn't quite catch. Can you talk about some of the pending contracts and what you anticipate the recurring revenue to be on just with those initial customers this year, where you're looking to end the year, and how, because I feel like that 1.14 is a little low.
Yeah, it is. It is our first client. Like as I said, our first client's a UK actually sports betting platform called Betzel, and they themselves between card and picks already represent more revenue, more ARR than the 114 we actually forecasted we'd end 2023 at. The sectors, the two primary sectors we're getting the most traction in Brazil are travel and gaming, not sports betting, but we're talking like e-gaming. We are getting some traction in sports betting also, but that's obviously a vertical to be careful in. The management teams had a long-standing relationship with Betzel. We know them really, really well. We know that they're high-quality operators, and they're willing to come on and be our beta client. While our beta client, it's still at a 350 basis point margin.
Now, on that revenue, how much do you guys make? So when you're doing 1 million ARR, what margin comes back to Pay Amigo?
3.5%. That is net. That's our net margin.
I see. So when it's 1 million ARR, that's basically 30,000 a year in gross margin back to the company?
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Other questions from the group?
Wait. Say that again. The number here, this is not the number that Pay Amigo is taking in?
No, we take in 3.5, like net 3.5%. That's above our cost. That's above payment network costs, above FX costs, above platform and payment rail costs. So that is our net revenue, not gross revenue, net revenue.
This is your net revenue, or the 3.3% of this is your net revenue?
Both.
Do you have a slide with your revenue?
This is our revenue.
Yeah, they'll make 3% margin on that 1 million.
No. This is our no.
That's
yeah. Okay, I think I pretty much caught that. The 1.14 million, that is 3.3% of your total, right? The amount that you're working with is a lot larger. You guys are taking in 1.14 million. That is your money, right? Because I think it was just coming off to somebody else that you might actually only be doing 3.3% of that. I just want to be clear, that is money to Pay Amigo that you keep.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So your gross sales are 30 million, and you're taking a million.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure you got that across.
Right. 30 million in TPV, 3.5% margin, $1.2 million in ARR. Bingo.
I see. Okay.
Glad we clarified that.
So sorry, I didn't comprehend the question. I apologize for that.
And Frank, I know we got limited time here today, but I'm sure you'll get lots of questions in chat. But I would like you to take a moment and reiterate. So part of the secret sauce in your ability to scale so quickly, and you touched on this in the presentation, was your ability to essentially leverage some of the past technology that had been built. Could you kind of explain, how that came about and what gave you sort of that entry point in the market besides just the relationships?
Yeah, sure. Look, we were aware of technology from a company that had purpose-built a platform essentially for cross-border transactions that we were able to license in a very capital efficient manner. Part of the founding team had worked with the platform in the past and worked with that platform in the past. As Garrett said, I was the CEO of Yapstone. Yapstone board essentially decided to liquidate the company. So you probably saw they merged with another firm. relatively recently. That meant, there were pieces of the App Stone that were going to be unneeded, unutilized. We acquired some of those. Some of those were the global subsidiaries we acquired. We were aware of another company called PayScout that wanted to exit some of their global subsidiaries. So we acquired the PI license, the entity in Brazil and India, from them. Again, relatively inexpensively, little cash need, a little bit of equity, essentially into each of these transactions to piece this together like relatively quickly. And beyond that, what really got us to revenue then and quickly was, relationships that have, been long existing with many of the pipeline merchants and referral sources and things like that we've done business with in various contexts through the years.
I mean, to endorse what Frank is saying as well, to build out an infrastructure like this would probably take 3 or 4 years, I'm guessing.
There was a lot. I think there was a lot more years than that into the platform itself that we were fortunate enough to be able to license, as I said, in a pretty capital efficient manner. That our CapEx need at startup was pretty light, and we were able to get into market relatively quickly.
Right. Well, we're running a little bit behind, mostly because I was long-winded at the start, Frank. So thank you so much for coming and sharing Pay Amigo again with the group, and look forward to hearing what the terms are in Q4 when you go out for the next round. Okay. Next up, let's see. We have Alex. We got Alex and Nick. We got a lot of faces on the screens. I know you guys are here somewhere. I see Nick. We should have Alex here somewhere. Alex, can you say hi?
Hey, can you see me?
Yeah, there you are. With the basketball jersey in the background. Perfect. All right. So really excited to have Australia contingent. Please, everyone, if you can, mute yourselves if you're not a presenter right now. Okay. We get to welcome Basketball Forever, Alex and Nick, tonight. This is a really unique opportunity in that this is a business that's been around and growing and venture backed out of Australia, and they're now in the process of scaling over here to the US. I won't take too much time stealing their thunder, but what I can share is they've built one of the top sports media and entertainment companies targeted at millennials with over 600 million I believe it's monthly views. I want to say annual views, but I almost think it's monthly views across your website and your Instagram, across the content that you guys produce. One of the things that struck me when I was initially digging into this company was I went on their Instagram, and I'd like to share this real quick with the group, just because I found this really. I'm going to share my screen. So if anybody follows basketball here, they saw that Damian Lillard was recently traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Well, this is ESPN. This is their post and the engagement that they received. Now, shortly after that, the team at Basketball Forever posted, and if you look, they more than tripled the engagement that ESPN received within a shorter time period. Is pretty wild. I'd encourage you to take a look, because these guys really understand content. They understand their audience, and they're getting ready to show what the next iteration of their business looks like through that core audience. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Alex and Nick, and I appreciate you guys making the time.
Thanks so much for that. Garrett, and I'll probably just provide some extra clarity. You definitely pumped the numbers up a little bit more than they deserved to be there, so I'll just level set with everyone later on.
Well, it won't be the first time I exaggerated on one of these calls, Alex, so keep me honest.
So hi everyone, my name is Alex Sumsky. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Forever Network, and I've got on this call as well Nick Kelland. He's our head of strategy, and he's heading up our US expansion as well. Thrilled to have this opportunity to share with you what we've been building at Basketball Forever and the Forever Network. And thank you again, Garrett, so much for the opportunity. let me just begin. I just want to share a little bit about myself and probably a little bit about the journey as well. Back in 2011, I was incredibly unsatisfied with the sports media landscape. My take on it is that it was bland. It was very editorial focused. It was dominated by behemoths. And a lot of the content was very web property focused. And it just didn't resonate with my generation. And I did believe that there was sort of a much better experience that could be had. So I started Basketball Forever to sort of just meet people where they were at. At the time, millennials were opening social applications 126 times per day. And I knew that it was going to be crucial in the future to be dominating that real estate. I knew that, visual, snackable content and a native experience was the way of the future for sports media. So I started in Australia with just a $5,000 grant. And then today, Basketball Forever stands as the #1 ranked global sports media offering amongst millennials. I was honored to be named in the Forbes 30 Under 30 for media. And, we've achieved this with just a small dedicated team of 7 people over the last 8 years. We were trailblazers in the industry and have spawned copycats like Dunk Daily, Sideline Sources, and, dozens and dozens of others around the world. To date, we've generated $3.5 million in revenue from Australia alone, and we deliver 4 billion content impressions annually. We've achieved consistent growth with a 28% year-on-year increase in audience metrics since 2016. And all of this has been accomplished with just $1.5 million in funding to date. We're on track to reach a milestone of 10 million cross-platform subs by 2026. And you can see from our chart here that it sort of showcases our dominance in the media landscape year on year since inception. And obviously today, our vision was always to dominate the global basketball conversation, and we really feel like we knocked that out of the park, and we did so by following a really, really simple, sort of 4-step recipe, which we call the 4 S's. It was social first. So just removing the barriers between the creative and the customer, focusing on shareability, making sure it was superior quality with a visual storytelling and nimble design language, and then making sure that the content was incredibly sticky. This was the formula for success for us. And the results speak for themselves. Our audience is truly distributed worldwide. Monthly, we reach 40 million people in the United States alone. And we have generated that $3.5 million in revenue in just Australia, despite the bulk of our audience being global, in which the Australian advertising spend is just 5% of the US. It presents an enormous opportunity for significant revenue growth in the US market alone. Like in year 1, our US expansion, this is what we're sort of gearing up for now, back end of this year and heading into 2024. We're sort of conservatively forecasting a 6 to 7x increase in annual recurring revenue purely in our media vertical within the US. So considering we generate 4 billion content impressions annually, we're creating 550 million social interactions with our content each year, not monthly. As Garrett said, I would love to be at that place. We want to get there one day. And then generating 100 million people global reach every single month. It means that we have a lot of awesome fans to talk to, and a lot of fans who are begging us for more. So our fans spoke, we listened, we built, and we launched. And this is how Vote, which was our first consumer product, was born. The origin story of Vote was pretty simple. There were literally thousands of people in our comments and DMs who wanted us to run skill-based competitions. And we just took that idea and we ran with it. We designed a product that resembled a 5-stake non-wagering, no real money pick 'em. It was a fresh batch of questions or markets, if you will, that were released in the form of digital cards every morning pertaining to that day's slate of NBA games. And importantly, these weren't actually pulled from betting sites and API feeds. They were dictated by trending topics in the basketball landscape, as suggested by us by engagement statistics from our audience. So users would vote on binary outcomes, and if they were correct, they got to collect that card. If you collect all 5 in a day, you won a daily prize, and they ranged from cash to jerseys to shoes to courtside seats. Subsequently, even if you didn't collect all 5, these markets had points ascribed to different outcomes, which were tracked in a season-long dynamic and live leaderboard with a grand prize for the season winner. Over the course of a short 2 weeks promotional period, we geo-targeted and A/B tested to just 0.1% of our audience. So that was about 600 to 700,000 unique people in the US and Australia alone. And the results were just incredibly compelling. We had 10.2K installs and then a 9.8K player registration, which was, that was a 96% conversion for us with a $0 marketing spend. So we launched in October, which was the start of the NBA season. And despite the first version of our product being an extreme bare bones alpha, we managed to retain 30% of our users active 6 months later. At the start of the NBA playoffs, we did something called event days. And over the course of this cohort, each day, 90.1% of players returned every single day. We paired content, community, and games, developing a sort of a brand loyalty that the big guys just really couldn't even dream of. If you have a look at some, other players in this space, these guys are spending an arm and a leg to acquire and then reacquire the same churning player over and over again at a capital loss. Meanwhile, we spend next to nothing and 90% of our players are active every single day. We're launching the full platform this NBA season, and we'll be able to scale just like the big guys, except without the unsustainable spend. Our reach is through the roof. Our brand loyalty, it can't be bought. This is brand equity that we've fostered and built over sort of an 8-year period. And then our engagement is second to none. It just presents an unparalleled opportunity, basically. So these were our numbers with a maximum daily active capacity of 1,500 users, which we were almost 4x oversubscribed on. We had to turn people away, more or less every single day. And with a full season of promotion, full-scale launch, improved event day processes, and a dedicated product team working across the geographical borders, we anticipate 500,000 registered users on the platform by end of year 2024. On the revenue side, we are anticipating a 6 to 7x, as I said before, in ARR in year 1 in the United States, much of which is going to be driven by sponsorship, branded content, and advertising revenue streams. We already have sort of a BD process established for this, as we're already currently servicing this in Australia. And we're going to refine the sort of in-app purchasing direct-to-consumer transaction flow as well, with the product monetization taps sort of fully turned on by 2025. And a growing and established user base, we're going to sort of looking at the 15.5 mil mark in revenue by the end of the financial year 2025. So look at some of the sort of more meaningful comparisons in this space. We've already have sort of marked interest from a couple of major players in the iGaming space. We have sort of steadfast and we're laser focused on a 36-month exit timeframe with a goal of selling into an extremely frothy and growing sports tech and media sandbox in the US. On our board, we have someone called Carl Flores. He actually built a company that did sort of similar things in the esports space, and he sold his business to Entain for close to $100 million. He's currently a strategic advisor for them. We see them as a very realistic target for us too, and we sort of benchmarked our numbers and worked out that we really only need to sort of achieve 25% of what we're shooting for to really unlock an acquisition opportunity for us. So we've only been raising really for the last 3 weeks, and we've sort of had pretty enormous success in the early piece. We're only seeking 5 million at an 18 mil pre-money val. We've got 1.5 mil committed, and we've got sort of some significant tier 1 VC interest already. This raise will be primarily used to fund team expansion, the setup in the US, like commercial operation, which we've already started, and product and operational costs associated with a full-scale launch coinciding with the 2023-24 NBA All-Star Weekend. Thanks. Happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Thanks so much, Alex. Who wants to jump into the question first?
It's not so much a question, because I'm definitely interested. I want to set up a call meeting with him directly tomorrow to go over in more detail what he just explained. So I just wanted to put it out there that the conversation needs to be had between the two.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Cam. For those who may be new to the group, Cam Taylor, former Badger star turned Boston Celtic, Minnesota Timberwolf, and international basketball player. So I think you probably understand the market better than about anybody, Cam. So look forward to hearing what comes from your meeting. Other questions?
Do you have any plans, Alex, to move towards other professional sports away from basketball, or do you want to stay in a single lane with basketball?
No, we have big plans for new sports. We've got we've really nailed the content formula and the blueprint and it's replicable across just about any sport. A lot of it's mechanized. We've got great internal processes. We're able to sort of run this with like a lean cost structure, something 6-7 person operation. So we can we're already looking and scoping out the NFL, MLB, and then of course like soccer from a global standpoint. But we want to pick them off one by one.
What about like rugby or cricket?
Rugby and cricket are good ones. I mean, we do a lot of rugby league here in Australia with and cricket as well. Cricket is a little bit more of a difficult one from a content perspective. A lot easier. Obviously, the market size is huge. They would probably be the biggest sport globally in terms of like participation and interest. You got like 2.5 billion people, which dwarfs basically everything else. So there's an opportunity there. I think content-wise, navigating the rights there is a challenge. Going to have to investigate that, but we're very well versed in other global sports, and then particularly American sports, which is what's fueling the US expansion.
Thank you.
So can you talk a little bit about, I think you've sort of detailed how you're going to monetize or how you are monetizing sort of the app, the vote app and things like that. But how are you monetizing, or how do you plan to monetize? It seems like your greatest advantage, which is the content and the reach. And what's sort of the, I guess, secret sauce or the process and scalability that you've sort of put together that's allowed you to build up that content base in Australia and will allow you to transfer that over and replicate it in the United States?
So just so I can understand the question, are you asking about how the audience development that we've done here is going to translate from a revenue perspective in the States?
Yeah, I'm curious
how talking about
it translates to revenue in the States. And I'm also curious how it's translating to revenue in Australia, because I was a little bit surprised just given how much exposure you have there, that the revenue, unless you were only showing revenue from the app, but I think you were showing total revenues, weren't necessarily high. So it didn't seem like you were monetizing, at least all too much, the content that you're providing in Australia, at least at the moment. And if I'm incorrect.
This is going to have to be the last question too, and then we can move the questions over to chat.
Yeah, I'll answer this really quickly. So our Australian subset of our audience is quite small comparatively, as you can see that from our demographics chart. And our we're a one-man sales team over here. So 100% of the revenue is derived from Australian brand partnerships on monetizing just the Australian audience. So that is the reason why we're looking at this US expansion, because anywhere from 50 to 70% of the audience in any given month is based in the US, and we're only looking at sort of like 5 to 10% of the audience in terms of what we're actually commercializing. So it presents a huge opportunity to basically replicate the BD efforts that are being done here on just the Australian subset, and having that translate to the bigger market opportunity in the US, which is 23 times the size of that in Australia.
Perfect. Hey, sorry to cut you off there, Alex. I know we'll probably go for much longer with Q&A here, but we're going to take it over to chat. Please also share your contact info in case investors want to reach out to you directly. And fantastic presentation. Really appreciate you making the time.
No worries. Thanks.
So I'll take a moment to introduce John Paglia, who's going to introduce our next company, which I think one of the amazing things again about this group is that the volume of deal flow that I get from all of you on a monthly basis, and I really appreciate the fact that everyone's so active and engaged in sharing opportunities and giving their feedback. So John sent Helios over, and I was pretty excited because as a former athlete, not nearly as successful as Cam, but as a halfway decent athlete, I saw the value in personalized training and individualized training, and it seems like John's come across a great company here. So for those of you who don't know John was leads the private capital markets program at Pepperdine, was associate dean as a CPA, CFA, PhD, and just a hell of a guy. So really lucky to have him on the team. So thanks, John. Go for it.
You may be muted, bud. We can't hear you.
John, I think you're on mute. All the credentials, but the computer doesn't care. It's still going to mute you.
How's that? Does that work? All right, folks. So keeping with the theme of athletics and joining Frank from the eastern part of the U.S. are Bill Neer and myself. I'm in Pittsburgh. Bill is in the northeast there, and Bill is the founder and CEO of Helios Hockey. And one of the things that I probably haven't mentioned to the group broadly is my son is an ice hockey player. It's a very small community. Through a series of networking, I was introduced to Bill, who has developed this really cool platform and app and tracking device to help athletes improve their game. And in particular, the first vertical that Bill has targeted is that with ice hockey. Prior to launching this venture, Bill earned bachelor's and master's degrees from MIT. He was the hockey captain of the MIT hockey team. Went on and worked with a couple relatively small ventures, mostly on the engineering and product development space, and really put him in a great position to launch Helios Hockey. So, Bill, there's so much more I could say here, but I'm going to turn it over to you and let you actually tell your story and share with the group a little bit about the excitement going on at Helios.
That's awesome. John, thank you for the kind intro. You hit some good points there and appreciate the opportunity to present to you all this evening. So my name is Bill Neer, as John mentioned, lifelong hockey player, MIT engineer, and founder at Helios. We are a software and data company on a mission to democratize access to individualized feedback in sports. And so what if I told you that most developing athletes will miss their opportunity window? I was one of them. Grew up playing ice hockey, lacrosse, soccer, really honed in on hockey. My dream was to play college hockey and play professional hockey. When I turned 16, I had a bit of a reality check, as a lot of developing athletes have, that I was perhaps not on the right track to hit that overall goal of making it to professional. Fortunately, I was doing quite well academically, and a door opened, getting to go to MIT, where I spent 6 years studying electrical engineering, computer science at a world-class engineering school, captained the men's hockey team, and sort of had some fortuitous collisions that ultimately led to starting Helios. For many athletes, the outcome of this lack of individualized feedback is really just missed potential. While I was at MIT, I became fascinated with this concept, and really it was a book by Malcolm Gladwell that many of you have probably read called Outliers, which talked about the birth month that athletes were born in as a major predictor for their success within the sports. And for me, as a data guy, as a computer scientist, it always fascinated me that we would talk about that concept when we could first identify that there's a pretty big gaping hole in access to individualized feedback. So most, youth athletes play in clubs, they play on teams, and every time they're on and off the ice or field, they're not getting individualized feedback. It's really hard for these part-time coaches. So we set out to really solve that problem. And just sharing my deck here. So the problem we're solving is really about the gap in individualized feedback that athletes need. And then ultimately the key stakeholder of the parent who needs the information to help drive their success of their athlete around their decisions and their spend. So the solution that we developed is a platform. It consists of a small performance sensor that's a wearable and an app technology. And it really does three key things. So it cuts individual video highlights instantly and automatically, delivers actionable feedback on the skills of the individual as well as the team, and it enables real-time and remote coaching. So the customers who use Helios, they're getting instant feedback right in the locker room, off the ice, off the field. And we're actually enabling this magic moment around our Helios instant video feature, which is really doing things that don't exist today in the sports video landscape, which is a highly manual, human-driven breakdown process. Tell you a little bit more about how that works. So we developed this proprietary Helios core performance sensor from the ground up. It uses AI, specifically machine learning, supervised training models to recognize motion in real time for a key gesture of the athlete. In hockey, we trained that as stride recognition. It sees a left or a right stride. The ability to do that really well is sort of everything. It's our Coca-Cola recipe, if you will. What we do with that is we bring that over to video, and the video can be from one of many existing formats: wall-mounted cameras that are in almost every venue, the camera in the parent's hand, the camera on the tripod, come one, come all. Our data is an instant keyway into all of these video sources to instantly and automatically extract the moments that that athlete was performing and build highlight lists out of that, saving an incredible amount of time. Tell you a little bit about the customer landscape. So organizations, these are youth sports organizations. They're an access point from a B2B capacity. Ultimately, at the end of the day, even through this B2B channel, the parent is the payer. In our D2C capacity, you'll see it's always the parent. You've got the coaches. They're an expert stakeholder who really facilitates the adoption. We drive a lot of value directly into the coach, especially at the team level use case. The athlete's the user. They're obsessed with improving. They're me when I was a developing hockey player, dreaming of making it big, putting everything in to try to achieve that goal. The parent is ultimately the 100% committed stakeholder, like John for his son. They're going above and beyond in terms of miles driven, dollars spent. And in many ways, they might see the success of their athlete as a reflection of success on themselves, or an ability to achieve something that they weren't able to achieve themselves in the sport. Tell you a little bit more about our business model. So we developed a membership-based business model, really focused on delivering the value around the software and the performance data. So we give the sensor away. Anyone who's familiar with Whoop, it's a very similar model. You're not paying for the hardware. It's included in either an annual or monthly membership option. To date, we've been selling a $300 product here on the left, the annual membership. And this coming month of October, we'll be launching our DTC straight monthly option here on the right, which is expected to be a major driver for our growth. And if you look at a case study on a company like Whoop, the transition from being a $500 sensor to a recurring monthly option was, validated as well as a key access point in the market, bringing down that purchase friction. Looking at the market size, so youth sports is exploding. It's projected to get to 70 billion by 2030. It's hard to meet people who don't have a connection to youth sports developing athletes. Specifically within that TAM, we look at the youth sports video apps market, which is growing really rapidly. Video is sort of everything. It's where the inner narcissism of the individual and the parent, as well as the ability to reflect on like seeing yourself out on the field or ice, really comes to bear. And so video is ultimately like the stickiest part of all of this. It really ties it all together. Specifically within that market, what we see as serviceable, obtainable is focused around automatic tagging, which I described our patented technology does, and the generation of highlights. And the ability to get to this really is rooted in the concept of 750,000 memberships at an average contract value for an annual membership of $200. In terms of traction, we're quickly approaching $1 million in revenue to date. We have over 2,500 users on the platform where there's a major purchase that had to be made in order to get started with our annual membership. Next week, we'll cross 100 million tracked events in hockey, which is strides. Growing patent portfolio, international patents, 2 granted, 3 registered trademarks. And we've done all this with 2.3 million of capital raised to date. I should mention we're focused on youth sports, but we're actually finding our technology being pulled all the way up to the NHL through professional hockey, national teams, college hockey programs. What we're doing is quite compelling at pretty much every level, although the biggest business opportunity is at the broad base of the market. Here's a snapshot of revenue by quarter since the beginning of 2022, having a really strong year, and next quarter with the introduction of our pure monthly option, as well as some major team and org contracts, is on pace to be the largest quarter for the company to date. In terms of growth beyond hockey, next year we'll be expanding into lacrosse. There's a lot of actual crossover, both in terms of the actual athlete for a multi-sport athlete that plays both sports, but also just in terms of the parallel of how our technology maps directly over. Our go-to-market into these other sports is going to be heavily focused on the video, where the exact same problem of working with full-length game video and trying to get to just the moments of the individual athlete applies. And so we're working with the existing live streaming and on-demand and camera infrastructure providers to use that as like the go-to-market value prop that we drive into these next sports. Beyond 2025, we see ourselves as having niche ownership of these three verticals and see ourselves entering a more competitive landscape, such as worldwide soccer. Our go-to-market is focused on three sales channels: direct to consumer off our site. We sell direct to team and orgs with contracts on the order of $47,000 to $100,000, to name a few recent team and org contracts, recurring contracts. We're also on the shelf at the largest retailer in US and Canada for hockey. We partner for distribution with existing sports video and streaming providers, and we've been creating content and driving brand awareness through affiliate, ambassador, and influencer marketing relationships. Here's just a snapshot of where you can actually find our product on a shelf today. One of the things we're really excited about is the data that's aggregating in the background. As I mentioned, the video is the stickiness that drives lifetime value, but we really believe that data is part of what drives the long-term value. And one of the things we're doing that's very unique in this industry of like hard good equipment in sports is we're linking profile information about the individual, a 15-year-old hockey player, with the equipment they use, which no one ever is able to track point of sale after retail, and then the performance that they're actually creating with that equipment. And we see a lot of value in this long-term. As I mentioned, I started the company 2018, lifelong hockey player, electrical engineer, joined by a team of experts in sales and marketing, specifically within this industry. JP was an NHL video coach, sales professional. Kevin worked for Exos before the Catapult acquisition on demand gen marketing. We also have an expert team of software engineers, data scientists, industrial designers, and we've developed this product from the ground up with a product-led growth hat on. We're backed by some of the best names in our sports ecosystem. Ron Francis is our first investor, two-time Stanley Cup champ, GM of the Seattle Kraken. Dave Nectow owns the largest retailer in the US for hockey. Brandon Janoski is a partner director at Stadia Ventures, which is an investor in Helios. A number of other folks here who have played professional hockey or been in the business of sporting good equipment and technology. On a competitive landscape, we differentiate ourselves by providing unparalleled access to this sport-specific feedback and video. So everything in the top left here is really expensive, kind of accessible to the pros. Everything in the bottom right is what you or I would consider as accessible in a consumer electronics capacity, walking into a big box store, going on Amazon. We provide the best of both of those in what we do. Since starting the business 5 years ago, we've been methodically using a product-led growth approach to punch through pilots, betas, business accelerators like Mass Challenge and Stadia Ventures, starting production during the pandemic domestically, which at the time wasn't in vogue, and then it became in vogue, and it really was our secret weapon for time to market as well as quality, as boats were struggling to unload their cargo in the ports of Los Angeles, to name one of them. We introduced our e-commerce platform in 2022, entered Canada, launched our instant video feature. This year, we introduced Android, working with some major video partnerships that'll be a key driver of revenue through that distribution channel. We're raising a Series seed round and training the next lacrosse sport model. To close, so we have an open fundraise for $2 million against a $10 million pre-money valuation for our Series seed. The use of funds here is focused on getting to 3 million in annual recurring revenue, with 10,000 memberships in our beachhead vertical of hockey, having deployment initially, at least in advanced betas in lacrosse and football, as well as certification entry into Europe, sort of solidifying North America and Europe as address markets geographically. And just to note, prior to this raise, 1.73 million had been brought into the business on a convertible note. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. Open it up to questions. We're Helios. We're on a mission to help developing athletes and teams get better faster.
Hey, thanks so much, Bill. Want to take, gonna have to just hit a couple of questions from the audience and move it over to chat because I've let things get a little long tonight. So questions from the audience. All right. Well, hey, I will chime in with a question then. As far as the app engagement, can you speak to some of those metrics and how long folks are spending on the app, how frequently they're visiting on a weekly basis? And I think you touched on that a little bit, but I want to appreciate if you could recap that.
Yeah, so our weekly active to monthly active is typically north of like 65%. We have a feature in the app where it's like a weekly streak. You get like an orange dot for each day that you use the product for at least one session. It's pretty typical for someone to be sharing to social their use of Helios and for 5 to 7 days to be orange across the week. So we have a sticky product that's sort of habitualized into the use case, and we're finding that the feedback we get from the customer is they're using it every single time that they're hitting the ice.
How much time are they spending in the app though, on average?
On average?
Yeah.
I don't have an exact time in app.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill, this is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. I just had a quick question on your deck. It's sure I can understand that you can do the video from the actual wearable itself, but it looked like on your deck that you had sort of a video or a dashboard where it was the entire hockey rink. How you guys, I mean, besides the wearable, where's a video coming from as well?
Yeah, so most, as John knows, almost every hockey rink has a wall-mounted camera. And there's actually like an arms race to be the leading company that does this. So there's quite a few competitors. You'll see a lot of rinks actually have 3 cameras on the wall, one for each of these companies. And so these cameras have accessible live streaming as well as video on demand. So after the game, we can actually merge directly with any of this video and instantly extract those moments.
And Bill, I got a question. How are you guys planning to utilize this in other sports? You know, I mean, given that other sports may not have the same visibility or cameras. Like
yeah, so I mean, you know, for lacrosse, for example, you typically have a tripoded camera or a camera in a parent's hand on an iPhone or iPad. So all of that video is supported with our instant video feature.
So does quality of footage matter?
It doesn't. It's completely independent of the resolution, frame rate, lighting conditions, jersey occlusion, all the reasons why computer vision based approaches are actually failing to give a consistent product. We could actually produce this result if you played a hockey game in a pitch black arena. Not that you'd want to watch your shifts in pitch black, but they'd be accurately cut for the time you headed out on the ice and played a shift. So it's completely based on the recognized time of the events and how that intersects with the video, not based on camera quality or field of view or any of those conditions.
All right. On that note, we're gonna have to take. I'm sorry. It's just we're getting running a little bit behind, so we're gonna have to take questions over to chat. And if you wouldn't mind sharing your contact info as well in the chat, but then please post the questions for everyone if you can, because I think I think they're going to be a handful more. I want to make sure we're moving forward and also getting your questions answered. So next up, I believe we have Chitogen and Bill. You want to take it away with the intro, please?
Sure. Chitogen, switching gears, is a medical company, medical device company, and they address the issue of bleeding. And so my history is a long time anesthesiologist taking care of people in the operating room. But when you think of Chitogen, think of procedures like family members who have gone to cardiology and had catheters or tubes put in their arteries or veins and then come out. or dialysis for people on kidney dialysis, and the catheters go into an artery and come out. So this company has developed a product that helps stop the bleeding, and they make money. So they came and said to me, I'm not an investor, but they said, where can we go to maybe get some capital for some new products we're developing and expansion of the products that we're working. They know the science, they have good science. They know the FDA. They've obviously done that already, and they have a market that includes the military. So given that we're already over time and I don't want to interrupt their 10 minutes, I'll turn it over to Steve and his team to let you know what's going on.
Thanks, Bill. Really appreciate it. And Garrett and Bill and Hunter, thanks for setting us and getting us to this point. I will keep it under 10 minutes, I promise. Just want to introduce some of the members of our team that are here with us. And Dr. Rob Levy is chairman of our company. Douglas Ayers, who is a founder, and our CFO is with us. And Dr. Mark Arith, a professor emeritus from Mayo Clinic, as well as a Chitogen shareholder and the developer of our hemostat, which we'll get into in a little bit. Going to change the lens just a little bit, as Bill said. Been with basketball forever and Helios, we're talking a lot about athletes. We might want to shift our focus a little bit to our treating of the bleeding of injuries of an ultimate athlete, which is the soldier in the battlefield, and that's one of the things which is a real goal for us in terms of our development. Chitogen. Maybe a sentinel message before I go in. I'm going to share the screen here. I'll get into that. Where are we? And this. Before we get into that, I'm just going to indicate that one thing as a sentinel message is that as Bill said, we're not a startup. We are an emerging company that's making significant inroads into a very competitive marketplace. The unmet needs, as Bill was saying, it's kind of like, why are we here? Well, our mission and vision is to be in the business of controlling bleeding. We provide effective and inexpensive hemostat that contains excessive bleeding from arterial access during dialysis, cardiac procedures, and severe trauma like in the battlefield. One of the things, we have three exceedingly large markets: interventional cardiology, dialysis, and trauma care. Just as a footnote, we do know this business. Our Chitogen principals were involved in a prior hemostat business that sold for $180 million in 2013. Chitogen means the next generation chitosan, which is our secret sauce that basically helps us control that bleeding going forward. We're already succeeding, and we're actually in the process of looking for new solutions. And so our legacy product is the one on the left, which is Soft Seal, and that's used primarily for interventional cardiology. And I've heard secret sauce used a couple of times tonight, and I won't overuse that, but our secret sauce is STF, which is surface treated fiber. That holds together and helps our product hold together in all kinds of interventional cardiology and significant wounds that occurs. D-Seal to the right is we've introduced two new products in 2021, 2022. And that is Soft Seal STFR, which is for radial access, which is the fastest growing segment of interventional cardiology cath lab procedures in the market. And then D-Seal is for the enormous and ever-present growing market of dialysis care for D-Seal. Hemostat in the center is our chitosan-based scaffold, which is a combination product that we are in development and we'll talk about in a little bit more in just a sec. I wanted to early on say that and show that we are making money. We're moving forward. We have a gross margin that's basically between 60 and 80% at this point. We're already making money and on the go, and we're looking for more money to be scalable in both the U.S. and the military market. Why is this important? Time savings in the healthcare industry, in the healthcare market, in cath lab, and on the battlefield is life-saving and money-saving. Our significant reduction in time on hemostasis for discharge and or wound healing is the significant factor that saves significant money, saves staff time, and is basically, from the patient's perspective, well accepted and well satisfied. The radial application, this application right here, is the fastest growing segment of the interventional cardiac market. Our DCL for dialysis, the dialysis market is a significant market worldwide as well as nationally. Our DCL was introduced in just 2022. We've had over 50,000 deployments with 0 adverse outcome reports, which is a significant detail in the medical market. The CMS, the Medicare regulation, as Bill said, we do know FDA, we do know the regulatory market imposed limitations on dialysis centers that the patients cannot leave the treatment chair until they reach hemostasis, which is a significant impact on the clinic's throughput and operations. All this chart shows is that the green bar is good. That shows our patients with DCL. The blue line is not good because that shows patients that are bleeding without the DCL. We have a strong regional presence and are in negotiations with a significant and with a national account to go forward as part of our strategic plan. We are in a crowded market in hemostasis. We have completed a competitive analysis, and our products and our intellectual property and our patents show a significant market superiority for soft seal and our DCL, when we are distinctively different due to this active hemostat and STF surface treating fiber. As I mentioned earlier, we are not a startup, we are an emerging company, and year over year, we are seeing record sales growth over the last 3 years for sure. We have newly engaged a 7-state sales force. We are predominantly in the Midwest, US, and we're working through the development with a national dialysis account. This growth shows here without that national dialysis account and without any hemostat or trauma sales included. Our customers are major hospital health systems currently in the Midwest. In wound care management, there has not been an improvement or any new products since 2014. The U.S. military, in fact, the most recent U.S. military data that shows anything that's out there that they use today, it comes from 2014 technology. On a humanitarian basis, Chitogen put together, Dr. Mark Arith and Dr. Jim Drake, who's our Chief Science Officer, Dr. Arith is on the call, put together a combination product that uses our patented chitosan-based hemostat as well as starch-based hemostat and combined them. And on a humanitarian basis, we produced 150 of these prototype units. We sent those 150 units. In fact, Dr. Arith took them to the Ukraine, connected up with the Ukraine military and the Kyiv Trauma Center. And we deployed those 150 at the trauma center and out in the Ukrainian battlefield. We've had two takeaway messages back from them to date. One is that there are exceptional results with it and better than anything that they've seen to date in both the trauma center as well as the battlefield. The second thing is that they're asking for a streamline for us in our delivery system, which we are doing. My background is, I've had a 6-year military background in the Marine Corps, and I was infantry, and I can tell you that a pack like this for the corpsman would be life-saving for sure. Significant developments, we are experiencing many. We've had, I'd like to just emphasize 2. First, currently we complete all of our manufacturing, packaging, and distribution in Minnesota and the US. And the bottom left-hand side, we've had 2 new products introduced and with active sales in the last 12 to 16 months and are distributing those in 7 different states. We are our US-based source of medical-grade chitosan. We have signed a definitive supply agreement to locate more of our resources for medical-grade chitosan from the US. to help reduce our reliance on China-based chitosan at this point. And we are bringing more select manufacturing capabilities to the U.S. To produce more of the medical grade service that we need. Our ask, in summary, we are a successful emerging company doing well on a regional basis. We need additional resources, both financial and strategic support, to grow to a national presence. We believe the Band of Angels offers both financial support as well as talent value add that could help us. We believe also that from my conversations with Garrett and with Bill, that the $300,000 to $500,000 range, though we're looking to seek up to $2 million, the $300,000 to $500 million, $500,000 really works well into our plans to boost our U.S. production, inventory, working national sales force, and for sure support the continued hemostat trauma product development. I will go to the next one. We do have a couple of addendum slides that basically shows there's the team that basically is Dr. Jim Drake, the founder. And again, as I mentioned, Dr. Drake, Douglas, and a couple of other principals were in a previous company that in this market that sold for 180 million. So we know this business. This is just a quick hemostat electron microscopy from the University of Mayo Clinic. And that shows that there's a strong interest on the part of Mayo Clinic, University of Texas, and the Department of Defense to see what battlefield tested results can occur from our hemostat. And this is the hemostat pack that we put together and forwarded off, and it has been in use on a trial basis with our prototypes in the Ukraine at this point. So with that, and we'll go back to, I'll open it up for Garrett, the team's questions. And I'm Dr. Arith, Dr. Levy, and Douglas Ayers, our CFO, are all on and hopefully can help with any questions that you guys might have.
Yeah, well, first on behalf of the group, we want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. I think that the support that you're giving the people of Ukraine is also fantastic. And having been stationed with the Marines, I guess I agree. It seems like a very much needed solution. I'm curious about your exit strategy. Could you expand on when you see an exit, what the exit comps are that you're using, and when investors can expect to receive a capital return?
Exit strategy, the board of directors and the founders of the company and senior leadership, we're looking for an exit strategy for the company within 24 months. The development of the hemostat is we have proven products in the soft seal STF, STFR, the D seal, and they are a great platform to grow from. We know that a number of the companies that are competitors at this point are interested in those as adjuncts to what their primary products are now. We are in the process of seeing that if the hemostat with FDA approval in the next 12 to 16 months, that it would be a 24-month look for an exit of merger or a sale.
Okay, and what do you expect? What is your target then from a valuation standpoint for an exit?
I'm going to say, Douglas, you want to weigh in on that?
If he's muted.
Yeah, okay, I'm on. Okay, I'm on. Yeah, one of our shareholders is a director of a publicly traded medical device company, not in the Midwest, but he was at our meeting a year ago. And he told us that when we start annualizing at 2 to 4 million, he thinks his company would be interested in acquiring us. And I think in our, and he's just one company, but I mean, we're looking at, I think, somewhere north of 50 million, for a hemostat business like we have would be what we would look for. So we would look for a multiple of three times, maybe the current valuation, 3 to 4 times the current valuation within 24 months. We're hoping this this raise right now is really close to our last raise. We don't really want to drive this too much longer.
You don't want to put up with investors like us anymore. I don't blame you. So all right. Well,
and I might add, Garrett, thank you, Douglas, for sure. 50, and I think that's from the board standpoint, looking at if we just look at developing the hemostat and getting it to the current market, for trauma care, and our existing legacy products that are working, and we're regional and we want to go national, that 50 million is definitely a target. North of that, if we see this a military contract, a U.S. military contract, we would see it go to 100 million.
Yep, understood. Great. Well, I one more question, and then we're gonna have to move on to Skylokr and then Purlin. Any other closing questions? All right. Well, I think you guys covered a lot of ground with the presentation. It was really thorough, and I for one know I'll be following up again after this. Really excited about what you guys are doing. So thank you for the time. Please add your contact information in the chat and stick around for a little bit because I'm sure there'll be some direct message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So let's see. Blunt Edwards. Where is Blunt? We got Blunt here somewhere. I see Ica. I'd rather see Blunt though.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, there you are, Blunt. Great to see you. Okay. Well, we got our friends from Douglas Elliman on the call today, so we got to show them some prop tech at some point. Darn it! I mean, so we really excited that we have Skylokr here. For those of you who were on last month, we did a brief intro of the company. I think everyone understands the growing market in the storage space, but I think what you're going to see tonight is a really unique solution that really works very well for apartment complexes to add revenue, and I know the CTO pretty well, so I'm excited for him to get a chance to share what they've been working on. So Blunt is also a seasoned entrepreneur, and I've really enjoyed learning more about this company. So go for it, Blunt.
Actually, Garrett, Greg will be presenting tonight.
Oh well, see, look at this.
The full team is here.
The full team is here, and Greg, take it away then. All right.
Okay. Yeah, sorry for missing the last call. I was dropping my daughter off to college that night, so couldn't make it. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Skylokr Systems. I'll share the screen here. Let's see. There we go. And everyone seeing that?
Yeah. Okay.
So smart storage where you need it most. So the concept is we occupy the middle ground between an offsite self-storage facility and the overfilled closet or the guest bathroom. When I lived in New York City, I had an entire bathtub filled to the ceiling with junk. And so what we've developed is a product that will be positioned directly above your parking space when you live in a multifamily apartment building with structured parking, which basically means you have an attached parking garage. So the storage locker is positioned right above the hood of your car in airspace that's not used and has never been monetized. And it's a smart storage system, which means you can control everything with your app. You can lock, unlock, share the key. We can also monitor and administer the system remotely, detect tampering, detect anomalies. And we've got a patent on this concept. What's really compelling about this model is that it mimics the self-storage industry, which I'll show you a slide in a second that shows some of the growth you've seen there. But if you've ever known anyone who's invested in it, it's an incredible cash machine. And we're doing this kind of addressing the same need and the same, frankly, pathology Americans have, which is they can never get rid of anything they own. We're addressing this with a much lower cost and simpler to install and own product here. We've already developed almost the complete product. We've gone through all stages of product development. We've got 20 units in the field now that we've been beta testing in Dallas and Houston, Texas, which is our initial rollout hub. In terms of the target market, it's really all multifamily class A and B buildings that have structured parking. So not all buildings have their own parking garages, but most recent construction does. And markets that you see in Texas, especially Houston, Dallas, and Austin, they all have attached parking. And one other note is that this unit will be positioned typically above the in the reserved parking spaces in these garages. So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in most of these garages, some of the spaces are just open to anyone who drives in, but the best spaces are closer to the exits and the elevators are reserved, and these would be put in your own reserved space and kind of bundled with that reserved space. This is our first external financing. It's a safe structure. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And what we're doing is we're using this to fund the manufacture of the next 250 units, which is still low volume production, but it will give us a chance to really refine the logistics and the sales process in Texas before we start expanding out to other states. A little bit about the development. We had a really strong product development team out of Austin, Texas, called Argo Design, do the original ID for the product. Then we did all of the prototyping and design for manufacturing and safety testing in Shenzhen, China, with a partner that Ike and I've worked with on, 4 or 5 different product cycles now. So it's a very low cost way to prototype. It's very effective. And then we're shipping the tooling. It's a rotomold product, which means that it's basically built in a giant mold. And we're shipping the tooling for manufacturing in the US. We've got the app and the backend system completely developed. And as I mentioned, we've completed a beta test in Texas. The units are surprisingly large when you see them. So we can't really convey that in the deck, but it's 98 inches wide, which is the standard width of a parking space, by 32 inches high by 32 inches deep. So it's the same cubic volume as you get in a mid-size SUV with the seats folded down. So that's the comp, but it's 53 cubic feet storage, and it holds a total of 400 pounds inside. So you couldn't really get to that level unless you loaded it up with lead or something, which would be very difficult. But we wanted to make sure that under no circumstances will the units fail. There's also, they were built modularly. So if you look at that design, those legs that you see that hold up the unit and cantilever it over the hood of your car can be removed. So for transportation, for installation, those slide out of sleeves. And if there's a wall mounting option as well, so that we have a French cleat that the units can be hung on in situations where we can drill bolts into the wall, which is usually preferred if we can do it. The smart lock system is well advanced now. Ike and I have built 4 of these now, I think, for different third-party customers. So we've really developed, I think, a leading expertise in doing this. So it's got Bluetooth, NFC, Wi-Fi. It's got interior lighting, which is important for dark parking garages. We've got, as I mentioned, remote monitoring for tampering and temperature anomalies. We can reset people's passwords if they lose their phone. We can share access with the building management and maintenance, et cetera. And the whole system is powered by a lithium-ion battery that has a 1-year plus battery life. And this is critical because then we don't have to run power to the units. They stand alone. They can be installed in about 10 or 15 minutes. So the business model is very simple, but it's a nice model. So it costs us about less than $1,000 to build and transport and install these units. There's a little bit of variability there, which depends on the location from the factory, and also there can be small fluctuations in material costs, steel and the polyethylene resin that goes into the rotomold material. And then business proposition to the building is that we pay for everything. So they don't really have to do no financial commitment whatsoever. And what they are responsible for is leasing the units out. So they typically bundle this with the reserved parking spaces. That's what we did in the beta test to great success. And then they collect the rent also. So that's it gets baked into the rent bill. So it means we don't have to deal with it. The basic economics, we take in $75 to $100 gross. We share some of that with the building, probably about 25%. It's going to vary. We don't have that completely nailed down, but it's pretty close to that number so far preliminarily. And the units continue to cash flow for up to, I think it'll be over 12 years. The plastic will last forever. The steel legs will last forever. And we can swap out the electronic lock module in about 3 minutes if we need to. So it's upgradable in the field. In terms of markets, we've already got a foothold in Texas, in Houston, and we want to saturate that market first. I'll show you a chart in a minute that shows why we like Houston so much. It's kind of surprising to me that there's so much growth there, but it's the number one market in the country. We also have a real estate partner in Dallas as well, so that's really helpful to have a foothold. Then we expand out to the other big cities in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin, which is growing like mad. And then from there, we don't really know exactly. I'd say these are estimates of the initial cities we'd hit after Denver, Phoenix, Nashville, Atlanta, but that could change. We really want to understand the market in Texas before we start going to other states. So this chart is one that makes me pretty happy. It shows the performance in terms of returns of self-storage public companies versus all other property, which is that kind of olive green, and then the Standard & Poor 500 at the bottom. So it's truly a phenomenal growth trajectory in this business, and it pays off in recessions, and it pays off in boom times as well. So I kind of stole that from the Wall Street Journal, that idea that Americans are pathologically unable to get rid of anything. So we're monetizing that, which is I think I'm subject to that as well. So the team, in brief, I'm a 5X venture-backed startup founder. I've been doing this since the mid-90s. It's the only thing I can do, speaking of pathologies, but I love building products and I love building companies. And I've been working together with ICA on multiple products over the last 5 or 6 years independently, and we've decided to get together to take this to market. And then Blunt is our recently joined the founding team, and he is a finance specialist who's also developed and managed real estate projects. And then we have several other partners that helped us get to where we are today. Concentric is our partner in Shenzhen and Hong Kong. Ohala is the real estate partner I mentioned, based in Dallas, and they were very helpful during really working out we came to this product with their needs in mind. So it was really helpful to have a real customer as part of our partner team. And then Four Corners is a global sourcing operation that'll help us really continuously drive down the cost of the product as we get into higher volume production. So to summarize, it's a patent pending smart storage product. There is a bit of competition. There are a couple other what we call dumb storage boxes, which are really just big boxes on legs. We have the patent on connecting these things to a network and building in smart functionality. So the other differentiator is those products are sold outright. So they're sold for $3,000 to $4,000, and that's the last revenue the company will see. To me, the model that makes sense is continuing to collect rent forever and getting a long tail on the business. There's obviously a huge demand for storage that seems to never go away. And as apartments get more expensive and smaller, you just can't fit everything. So this is almost a universal need for all apartment owners for whatever the demographic they happen to be in. And we're using completely space that's never been monetized before. It's literally the area above the hood of your car, and it's super convenient. I want to show you just one other chart here.
Yeah, Greg, I say show one more chart, and then we got to get to the ask slide.
Okay. Yeah, so the chart, this just shows the construction of the last 10 years. Houston is #1 in terms of luxury apartment building. And then Austin and Dallas are both in the top 4. So the ask is we're raising 1.25 million at a 4 million post money pre. So it's a I think to me a very reasonable deal. And we've got the first 250 to 500 I think lined up for that, and we're just kicking this off. But it's a turnkey business in my view, and it's one of the easier tech hurdles I've had to jump over in my career. So I feel very confident in our ability to deliver.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And full disclosure on this front, we intend to we haven't sent a wire yet to you guys, but we're in active diligence on this one on the fund side as well. And because we're in active diligence, I can be a little bit mean to you guys tonight and say that all the questions have to be done via chat because we're just running out of time that much. So I will make it up to you in other ways down the road. Well, and so we'll actually, you know what? I tell you what, let's do one question, and then we got to get because I know Georgie's up against it right now, so I appreciate his patience. One question from the group, and then we'll move the questions.
I actually have a question.
Oh, okay, Georgie, go for it.
Ask a question. Is there any liability of those things crashing a car and stuff? And how do you handle that? Is there insurance for that?
Yeah, so we well, actually, I'll turn it over to Blunt, but we did. I'll tell you about the safety testing. We had these things loaded up with 800 pounds of weight, and we measured the force required to tip them over, and it's virtually impossible. So you could intentionally drive a car into it and make it fall over in some cases, but I'll turn it over to Blunt on the insurance.
Yes, there are various levels and different categories of insurance that we will be taking, and some of my experience is risk management. So I'm well informed in the risk management insurance space. So yes, there are liability policies of varying sorts and other types of policies that a business like this will need to have and should have, and we will have. So in the event that something did happen, we would be covered for that.
Was it the Hartford Blunt that covered us for the beta test?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, without too much problem and too much expense, we got the whole beta test covered with a big national insurer, the Hartford.
Yeah, they're a good company.
Last thing that
we have policies.
Ika, if you wouldn't mind chiming in here, because I know that I saw a question around Wi-Fi is not an issue. Ika, could you explain why Wi-Fi is not an issue for opening and interacting with these?
Oh yeah, so we're using Bluetooth to connect directly, and to get data out of the garages to us. Basically, the users piggyback data to us, much like the Find My network works from Apple. But where available, we have Wi-Fi connectivity to be able to monitor the units online.
Yeah, and I also think that cars will require connections now in garages, because my car is now updating firmware all the time, and I think people are going to demand that. There'll also be charging stations in garages, so it's coming fast. I mean, older buildings don't have it, but they will. So.
Great. Hey guys, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to give a very brief intro for Georgi, because he's been very, very patient with us this evening. But one of the things that I've noticed as an angel investor, and now as a corporate VC, now as running some ventures, is that oftentimes the best bets that I place, I'm kind of I want to say I'm the only voice in the room advocating for a company early on, but sometimes it really feels that way. And for some of you who've been attending these meetings for years, you saw Purlin present years ago, and Georgi was really ahead of his time in understanding the value of data and the value of AI that AI would hold in the future for real estate and for real estate transactions, for the way in which we were going to search for homes, the way in which agents would communicate with their potential buyers in the future. And he knew where the puck was going, and he's been skating there for some time. And I was really happy when Douglas Elliman, Rice Park Capital, Eklund Gomes, and others bought into this vision here recently, and we had the chance to celebrate. If you've seen our LinkedIn post, you got to see Georgi and I hanging out with some very, well, I want to say very attractive. It's probably not politically correct, but
better dressed.
Very well dressed. If you ever want to feel I don't know, self-conscious about the way you dress, hang out with high-end real estate agents. Let me tell you what, that's we got to go to the Eklund Gomes launch party, which is the folks who run $1 Million Listings TV show. They're the top performing team at Douglas Elliman, and they bought into Purlin's technology so much that they launched Maya, and Georgi will tell about that update and many others. And I'm really happy he can come back and present this update. And I'm actually kind of working on him because we have a board seat, and it looks like there may be some room to extend the round here, which he'll elaborate on as well tonight. So Georgi, why don't you take it away?
Can I share my screen real quick?
Yes, it should be available for you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Hunter, to you as well. And thank you, Garrett, for having me back. So this is the position of Purlin. I've seen some of you in this meeting before. This is just another way of saying what we've been doing since 2018. Real estate AI, specialized in real estate, focused on enriching human experiences, making the buyer, seller, renter, agent experience better with AI, while also improving profitability in the process. We've demonstrated success creating and selling AI and AI-based solutions. Our ARR really blew up this year, and we have tremendous opportunity in front of us that we can keep up with. I'm going to jump directly to our AI platform. The best way I can describe it's an AI that comprehends real estate information that's hidden in images, human language, and company and transaction documents.
Georgi, I believe your screen's frozen. I'm not 100% certain, but I think it is. So I don't know if you can refresh on your side.
Can you see it now?
Well, we can see the September 2023 home slide.
All right, that's not what I'm looking at.
Okay.
All right, one sec.
Go to presentation mode, I think.
Okay. What do you guys see now?
Purlin's AI.
Okay, perfect. So comprehending information that's hidden in images, you see a gentleman riding a bicycle, and you see AI finding similar lifestyles, not by bathrooms, bedrooms, etc., but lifestyle snapshots. You see a style of a home, you like a home, you take a picture of it, AI will find similar homes in a specific market. And you see a document like a purchase contract, AI reads a document, it's tapped into all the processes, and you can answer questions about when is your transaction closing, how did the inspection go, and really make you feel good about the experience of buying the house. Our AI learns from behavior. It makes recommendations, like maybe you should talk to a mortgage person, maybe it's time to make an offer on this deal, and it tries to make the agents look good in the process. It's compliant and accurate. I hope you can see my screen. On the left side, it's a ChatGPT response to what is Olympia, which again, obviously goes into the city of Olympia and Greece and mythology of it all. And on the right is—
I don't think it's progressed, Georgi. I think it's on the same, you're on the same page.
I apologize, guys.
Yeah, you're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My connection is very bad. So I'll just speak to it. And I'll send the deck out. So Olympia is a new development in Manhattan. So if you talk to ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT, what is Olympia? It'll go into mythology, Greek mythology, etc. You ask our AI, what is Olympia? It will give you exact listings for an exact building in Manhattan, and it will tell you how many units are available, give you the amenities, and talk to you about the building. So this is the difference between what we've built over the years and kind of general AI solutions that you see in the marketplace, and some of the plugins that you see in the marketplace, which are really not real estate AI. We have 5 kind of consumer-facing and agent-facing products in the marketplace. And the reason we have 5 is because they take a client or take an agent from finding a client using AI-created ads to engage in the client with AI chat or other content that our systems create to converting the client into a transaction using our tool called Mission Control, which converts kind of searching experience into a deal. And then we have Communicator, which is a deal product that closes the transaction, tells people where they're doing in the process and what's the next step, and really kind of relieves anxiety and replaces like a huge FAQ pages that you see on transaction settlement service providers pages with human kind of sounding chat. And then behind all of this kind of consumer facing technology, we have API platform. And actually David is one of our clients that has purchased all of this. And hopefully he's a happy client based on how much business we do together. We have thousands of users using our products already. We have thousands of touch points with buyers, sellers in the marketplace every month. Our AI sends out touch points that are getting 93%, 95% engagement level with our users. So this technology is working. It's working with thousands of users, and it's being very successful in kind of moving the conversation forward for real estate agents and escrow and title companies. Our ARR is, our contractual ARR is $2.2 million. We just had a huge PR event that Garrett said last week. And this week alone, I received 10 inbound requests. People want to buy technology, David, that Frederick has, not surprisingly. So we've had 10 requests just this week. I'm in conversations with two kind of enterprise level mortgage companies, very large national. One of them is the top mortgage producer in the country, and the second one is number 6 or number 7. I'm talking to number 3 real estate brokerage platform in the country. I'm on the 3rd meeting with them. I'm talking to an escrow company on the East Coast that will multiply our transaction footprint 6x with this deal. I'm 90% closing this deal already. So, you know, we have enterprise clients, we have mega companies, we have medium companies, and we have teams of agents and agents who see Frederick using our technology and they want to be as successful as him. And honestly, the opportunity seems to be quite big, bigger than we anticipated. And in the interest of time, I'll just jump to kind of the conversations we've had at the board level. Peter is on our board. Garrett obviously is involved from the start. So we're trying to extend now our round from earlier this year that Garrett led or co-led, just to give us more bandwidth to engage with all these opportunities in the marketplace. The product is working, it's built. I mean, obviously it always will continue to improve, and we have very big R&D pipeline, but the majority of this 2 million that we want to raise now, it will go directly into setting up these conversations and converting the conversations all the way from top brokerages, number 1 to number 10 mortgage lenders, medium-sized companies, title companies, escrow companies, and teams and agents kind of individually as well in a more of a retail product. So a lot going on, and super excited to talk to that.
I was able to actually pull up your deck here on my side. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted to, but maybe you can at least, we can at least go through so you can at least show the audience a little bit. I think that this is a little bit of the dated deck, but I'd like you to at least be able to highlight a couple of these components here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, you know, real estate search is what you see. Yeah, this is a little bit outdated, but real estate search, what you see on the first screenshot here, we are Eklund Gomes is the only real estate website that can do this right now. Zillow can't do it, Redfin can't do it. They have ChatGPT plugins. So in other words, they provide real estate data to ChatGPT to consume, but they cannot have a human conversation that results in a search recommendation on their own website. And we just launched it last week, which is what you see on the first screenshot there. And the last screenshot that you see is, you know, if you've kind of looking into AI, you've heard about hallucinations, ChatGPT, Llama, Bard, they all make stuff up all the time. And as a company that cares about its brand and reputation, you really can't afford that. So what you see as the last screenshot here is ChatGPT's answers to, hey, what's your, actually OpenAI's API answers. Hey, what's the biggest listing you've ever sold? what is the most expensive listing you have right now, and obviously made up numbers, made up answers versus accurate numbers, accurate answers using the persona that Frederick himself kind of curated. It's Maya, this whimsical persona, AI persona that he curated with us. So this is just some of the examples of what I was talking about, of having human conversations and being first in the market. And this is our 5 products. Garrett, Client Finder for AI, AI-based or AI-created ads. Estate Talk for chat, Value Finder for seller engagement, Mission Control for home search, and then Communicator for the closing process. So you take if you think about how David Ballard on this call and brokerage and mortgage companies think about revenue, you have to find clients, you have to engage them, you have to convert them into a transaction, create a relationship, convert that relationship into a sale, and then close the sale. And then these AI-enabled products not only accomplish those in individual steps, but they also kind of use AI to talk to each other in the process, which allows me to go to any company and say, okay, you don't want one of these pieces, no problem. This is how the rest of your stack will plug into the communicator, for example, using AI. So just because we have AI connecting the dots, it's just very powerful platform on its own, fully, but also we're able to kind of pick and choose for a large enterprise client, what makes more value, what drives most value for them. And this is our ARR numbers, Garrett. So this is accurate by each of the products.
Great. This is more on the ARR front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, GTM, this is what I was talking about, enterprise, mid-size, and direct. And what I was rattling off earlier is the conversations we're having in each of these buckets. I'm leading sales. I'm the only salesperson right now. So naturally, all the conversations tend to be large enterprise kind of conversations. But I think as soon as we have this round closed, that we can kind of bring on a little bit of a sales force, we can multiply the success that we're seeing kind of across all of these channels. And what's interesting here is, again, real estate, mortgage, and escrow. Those are all of the places where we have a very strong value proposition. It's kind of multi-industry, but all real estate.
Great. Revenue projections here, Georgi. I don't know if you can see that. And then, yeah. All right. Well, hey, I think that because of the rush nature of this, what I wanted to share with the group was I basically wanted to take a moment, and I think it's always nice on the Angel side, because frequently there's debate and discussion around companies at the end of these meetings, which we're coming up on now. But oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, you feel like the lone investor in the room sometimes that wants to support a founder, and you're wondering, am I crazy? Well, in this case, it certainly appears that I wasn't crazy. What Georgi's built with a team of was it now 40 plus, Georgi?
55 now, yeah.
50, yes, 55 now. They're doing something truly special in the real estate technology space. I intend to host a separate meeting here that I'll share with everyone, where we can do a little bit of a deeper dive on Purlin, because there's some really interesting opportunities on the horizon. And I know that Rice Park Capital recently joined the round after some very serious diligence that I even had Deloitte come in and vet the AI technology that Georgi had built, and provided a pretty thorough write-up. So if this is something that anyone wants to revisit, please let me know. I'll happily share what the diligence we've done and others, and look forward to continuing the journey with Purlin here. And Georgi, I really appreciate your time you made for the group, and apologies for the little bit of chaotic end to our meeting this evening. But what I got to do now is I've got to invite our founders, or ask our founders who presented tonight to jump off. And if I understand if others have to jump off, but I would love to hear feedback from a few minutes from the group if we can, and hear what folks like. So how about a round of applause for our founders? Thank you guys very, very much. Really, really incredible job.
Thank you.
And for those who survive and stuck
Thank you
for 2 hours,
thank you.
Gary, do you want me to go? Just
what? No, Frank, because you're not pitching for capital. You're
okay.
Yeah. It's more of a, you get to stick around. You get to be in an exception here this evening. And frankly, Georgi could have stuck around too, because he's really not. This is more of a venture deal, but at the same time, I think that there are going to be some angels that want to take a deeper look here in the future. So yeah, what I'd like to say, Frank. Actually, why don't you kick things off here, Frank? Besides your own company and your own bias here, why don't you share what you thought about the other presenting companies this evening, and then we'll move around the room a little bit.
Yeah, well, I have a question also about regarding Purlin, okay? And I'm impressed. 40 to 50 people. Are they engineers? Are they developing proprietary technology? And what about the competition in this space? If you know, Garrett, maybe you know.
Yeah. Well, we do have David on the call, so I will first ask if he would like to share any of his insights, being the CTO of Douglas Elliman, and then I'll add as well if you like.
Yeah, I mean, guys, in this particular space, it's all evolving. It's an emerging technology right now in the prop tech space. But I can certainly tell you that this whole doing predictive analytics on behavior of what people are looking at, how many times they're going back, what their interest is it a view, is it a kitchen, is it a family room, is it a whatever in the property space, is very appealing and very interesting. What he didn't actually share, which I was a little bit surprised, is we're in the cusp of getting ready to roll out in a beta environment what we're calling Douglas Elliman Inspirations, but it is a product that's on there, which is this whole collaboration utility, which creates an experience that doesn't exist with Zillow or Realtor.com or anybody else. So your question is a good one, is like going, hey, is there a lot of competition in this space? The answer is there's a lot of technology that's out there that has similar features, but they're not focused on the property technology space. So what he's done is he's taken the technology stack and has earmarked it and taught it the real estate landscape, which is what's not in our space right now. And that's what got Eklund Gomes, which you guys, I mean, if you go out and you type in Eklund Gomes and go to Eklund Gomes, The Real Deal. The Real Deal is a major article, group, very much like Investment News and Financial Services, which talks about prop tech. It talks about real estate companies and so forth. You can go down there and look. They're a big write-up on, hey, what just got released, which Georgi did talk about, which is pretty impressive. It's a communication utility. You can go play with it yourself right now. Go to Eklund Gomes' website. Not the Douglas Elliman one, go to the one that's physically theirs. I can certainly put a link out there. And you can actually go and play with this Maya tool, which is a chat bot, and say, I want to go look for things $5 million in the Hamptons, south of the highway, and it will bring up interaction points and show you listings that meet your criteria and then try to upsell you. So, it's pretty unique. You don't see that in the competition in this particular space right now.
Hey, David, a question about the way real estate is moving in terms of interest rates. Interest rates are obviously going up. Is this product that, he's marketing, can it cut through the changes in interest rates? Can it be a product that wins with high interest rates or low interest rates? Or do we not? Is it too early to tell?
No, I mean, it's a great question. Now, Purlin has like 3 or 4 products or 5 products, to be quite honest. I mean, there's something we call Ad Pro, which is another component. There's one that we use for our escrow company, which is a communicator, as an example. Each one of these products have a different use case. Now, the one I mentioned about being able to do listings, that's a whole nother product. So all of these, when you look at them, some are just, our agents are consuming them in a heavy way right now because the market is so competitive, and they're having to market all the listings. So this Ad Pro concept, which is one of their tools, we call it Ad Pro, that goes out and markets the listing to all social media that's out there, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or wherever it may be. It goes and pushes it out there to a specific market that is earmarked to be able to purchase listings like that. And in our space, we're different. We're not as heavily reliant on the interest rate. I'd say 60% of our buyers in our space anyway are cash buyers. So it's a little different. Our average, sale is like 1.7 million versus our nearest competition is like 1.3. So I mean, it's just a little different. But one of them is going out and trying to market the listings in a high interest rate. It's very competitive. Another product is going out and over communicating for escrow and title companies on what's going on, really doing that client data mining on keeping them satisfied with doing business with you. And then the other one is helping them find what is, in the marketplace that may suit their needs. And being the first one to be able to do a little bit more personalized searching instead of having a client have to go to Zillow and say, I want to go find a 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 3-bath house. No, I want to find something on the ocean. I want to find something in this specific area. I want to find something that's got a modern kitchen. I want to find something. These are things you can't search for. And the regular searching utilities that are out there. So that's unique. So your question, Bill, is point on is, can it weather the negative storm? Let me tell you, we're in a negative storm right now on real estate. This is the highest the interest rate has been since, 2 decades. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? And we are overly utilizing these tools, to help market our properties.
Yeah, thanks, David. I think just a couple of things I would add to that piece is to build on what he was saying with the tailored, personalized searching capacity. What Georgi did that was so interesting is after taking this incredibly large data set, he was able to train the model such that you could literally understand the type of kitchen you preferred as you were searching through for homes. Purlin can understand, here are the 3 destinations you travel to most frequently and we should present you a home that meets that need. These are things that are, I think, the way in which we think about buying homes in the future. He's really ahead of the curve, and it's no easy task in creating the models and doing all of the tagging to understand what a modern kitchen looks like. And there were other large, very well-funded competitors like Compass that are frankly not where Georgi is. No one, I believe, is in the industry has built out the stack that Georgi's built out yet. So really excited. And that's the other thing we love it from a fund standpoint about having a partner like Douglas Elliman is that they're a customer, they're an investor in Purlin, but they want Purlin to succeed as long as they get to launch it first. Georgi will be able to go out into the world and sell into others down the road as well. And that's what Georgi's raising capital and he's going to continue executing on. So
I think one of the things, Garrett, kind of on your point, but that where Georgi stood out is that, there's the disconnect that occurs is that when realtors put a listing in, it's that realtor that determines the marketing, the spin, the modern kitchen, even though it's total bullshit. The kitchen was modern in 2004, but there's no ability to hold it accountable except for what Georgi has, because he's actually looking at the images. So there is a reconciliation against the realtor that puts in a bunch of shit into the listing that really isn't relevant at all, that the consumers end up looking at saying, oh, this house has been marketed as having a totally remodeled kitchen. And it's like, no, it is not a totally remodeled kitchen. So I think there's a real truth to what Georgi has because of the AI behind the images as well, where right now it's all realtor driven. When they build it out in the MLS, it's whatever they say. Yeah. And there's no way of holding them accountable.
That's a very fair point. Well, we want to make sure we talk about some of the other companies,
absolutely,
companies as well. But no, it's and for those of you who don't know, Jason's worked on all sides of the residential real estate market, and from developing to buying and selling, and he certainly knows what he's talking about as well. So the other companies that you saw, we need to make sure that we're advancing one this evening. What other startups did you guys like tonight?
I liked Helios. I mean, my son played hockey for a long time, and like every kid on his team would have signed up for that service for $30 a month. Every parent would have paid it. Like